This is just a really uneven chunk of cherry that I've had floating around my wood shop for a couple of years. So the first step for me in making this into a bowl is to even out the top and bottom. So I'm just doing one side at a time here. Nothing fancy, just trying to get it smoothed out. So I just knock off the high points on either side and then run it through the planer a few times. And here I'm going to mark the bottom of the bowl with my design. And first I found center and then worked out from center, marking every 3/4 of an inch. And here I'm just placing a line every 45 degrees evenly. So this is just taking the idea I had with the resin and black mesquite bowl I did recently to another level with a little bit of freehand router work in creating the spiderweb. I did knock one of those center little chunks loose when I was doing this, and you'll see me dealing with that later when I pour the resin. It was a very simple fix. The resin did most of the work. And this is just basic epoxy resin, 1-to-1 mixture with a little bit of green liquid dye and a little bit of pearl. Just trying to coax those bubbles into showing themselves. And then the heat gun set on low pops those bubbles nicely. I do apologize for the shakiness here. Fortunately, it doesn't last very long because my battery ran out in the camera, so I had to change the battery and remount it. And that battery died just after this shot. I cut this mortise about 3/8 of an inch deep, so it's going to be a very shallow hold by the chuck, and you'll see why later. And I sand all the way from about 150 up to 1200 grit, and then add walnut oil. So I'm finishing the bottom of the bowl before I reverse mount it and work on the top and inside. And I've got the tailstock up to support that shallow mount on the chuck. And basically I'm just hogging the guts out of this bowl until I see some spiderweb. Most of what you're seeing here is at 10 speed. And right there is your first look at the spiderweb from the top of the bowl. And that also tells me I've only got about a ½ inch of material between the top and bottom of the bowl right now to play with. Which is why I left the mortise on the bottom side so shallow. It has everything to do with the length of the router bit that I used to cut out that spiderweb. And that little crack that I pointed out had filled with resin. But there's a real nice look at the bottom of the bowl with the light shining through the top. It's kind of amazing. This is a crack that developed, and I just used some epoxy to fill it in. And I, of course, let that dry a few hours before I continued with the sanding and finishing that you see here. Kind of a cool effect. The sky's the limit with this idea. And I've got a few things in mind, so stay tuned. I want to thank you once again for watching. Thanks to all my subscribers. Getting close to 18,000. Amazing. Amazing. I really appreciate it. Semper Fi.